If you want to draw believable characters or structures set up in a 3D world, it is essential to learn perspective. It is the fundamental base for anything to feel real, even if you just want to draw cartoons. Here are the 3 essential perspective principles or methods: 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. All these revolve around learning how to draw cubes in different views. If you learn how to draw cubes or boxes using these 3 principles, you can draw pretty much anything. Let's get into it. Let's start with 1-point perspective. First of all these methods require us to draw a horizon line. The horizon line is simply the far end of our ground plane or our eye level. On this horizon line, we must place our vanishing points. Since we are tackling 1-point perspective, we just need to set 1 for now. Let's place it relatively in the middle of this horizon line. The particularity that I found with 1-point perspective is that the front plane of the cube is going to look flat, meaning it will look like a regular square. Now, we need to make this square look like a cube, and for that we're going to connect all the vertices or the corners of the cube to the only vanishing point. You can do these lines with a ruler if you want, or just try to make it by hand. With fast movements you can achieve a satisfying result. After these points are connected, now you need to define the rest of your cube's dimensions. Also, for this 1-point perspective, the rest of the lines will all be straight. If you change the direction of a line, it will end up with a different shape entirely. It is not wrong, but it's not what we want right now. Let's go back to the cube. Now that you have finished doing this, you might have noticed that the rear plane is also a flat square. This is the particularity of 1-point perspective. The front and back planes are straight, and the edges connecting the 2 planes have to converge towards the only vanishing point. And now, let's just outline the visible part of the cube. So there you have it. That's how you draw a cube in 1-point perspective. Let's see how you can draw a rectangle that sits on the right side of the vanishing point and farther away from the horizon line. So for this one, excuse my wobbly line, but let's just imagine it's a perfectly shaped rectangle. Just like before, we connect all those vertices to the vanishing point on the horizon line, and all we need to do after is define the dimension of the 3D shape. As this rectangle sits farther down from the horizon line, the top plane will be more visible than the previous cube we drew. Let's now see a rectangle like it were a building, having the bottom part below the horizon line but the top part above. If we connect all the vertices to the vanishing point like before, you will quickly notice that the bottom and the top plane are not visible. What I mean by that is that they still exist, but when drawing only the visible parts of the 3D shape, these planes will be behind. So, unlike the 2 other examples, placing a cube on both sides of the horizon line, you will only see 2 planes of the shape, not 3. Now, what will happen if we place a box directly above the vanishing point? Well, just like we place it on the horizon line, the cube will only have 2 planes showing, the front and the bottom one. And if we are to place a cube directly in front of the vanishing point, we will only see 1 plane, as all the others will be behind. Very good, now you understand 1-point perspective. Let's see how 2-point perspective method changes things up. After placing the horizon line, we must place the 2 vanishing points. Let's place them on both sides of the horizon line, to the right and to the left. Now, one big difference between 1 and 2-point perspective is that now the front plane of the cube is no longer flat, but we will have the vertical edges which will be flat. What I mean by that is that all the vertical edges will be straight and parallel to one another. So let's start with a vertical line. This edge will give us 2 vertices, and differently from 1-point perspective where a vertex only connects to one vanishing point, these will now connect to both vanishing points each. And as I said previously, the vertical lines are all parallel. That means that we can define the dimension of our cube by creating vertical lines. These lines will be connecting both converging lines going to the vanishing points. And now we will have extra 4 vertices. These new vertices need to be connecting again to both vanishing points, and since they're already connected to one, you just need to connect to the other one. Alright, let's add a black contour, and there you have it, a 3D box in 2-point perspective. One thing you should understand, we are not distorting a cube here. What is being distorted is the view. Just as the vertical lines seem to look parallel to each other, the horizontal lines of the cube are also parallel, but only in that world. In our vision, they are converging. It is important that you understand that illusion is the whole point of art, to create the illusion of reality while being on a sheet of paper or a digital canvas. Let's create another box, this time near to one of the vanishing points. As a beginner, I highly recommend you to not go outside of the vanishing points. It is going to be difficult for you to solve and you will get weird results. Alright, we can start with a vertical edge. Connect them to both vanishing points, set the dimension of the cube with straight vertical lines, and connect the new vertices created to the vanishing points again. When you are creating a cube next to a vanishing point like this, be careful, for it will trick your mind into making a slanted line instead of a straight line. And if you're not careful, it will ruin your entire cube. Here on the last vertex, I actually connected the line wrongly. I made the connection curved and only noticed while editing. If we are going to draw a cube sitting in front of the vanishing line, the top and the bottom plane will be invisible. So we will only get a cube with two planes visible. And if we create a box sitting above the horizon line, we will see three planes, but we will see the bottom one instead of the top one. Now that we are done with 2-point perspective, let's look at the last method, the 3-point perspective. Just as for 2-point perspective, we need a horizon line and two vanishing points. What we also need is a third vanishing point that we can place either above or below the horizon line. Let's place it below. Oh, and another thing, it's better that the third vanishing point will sit rather far from the horizon line. Remember when I told you that for 1-point perspective, the plane is flat. For 2-point perspective, the vertical edges are flat. Now, for 3-point perspective, all we have is a vertex. That's right, we're going to start out a cube from a simple dot. For the first cube, let's place the vertex aligned with the third vanishing point. Now, we need to connect this vertex to all three vanishing points. Right now, you will notice a shape that you will have to remember for the future. It is the Y shape, where the middle point, or the starting vertex, is the point that sticks out the most, or it's closer to the camera. Alright, after connecting the vertex to the three vanishing points, we can now define the dimensions of the cube by placing three new vertices on the lines. And just like the first vertex, all these vertices will be connected to all vanishing points. As you probably noticed before, make sure you rotate the canvas or the paper if you're drawing traditionally, in order to draw a straight line easier. After connecting these vertices to the vanishing points, the intersection of the lines will define where the next vertices are located. So we're gonna have three extra vertices. Let's do the same as before. Connect them to the vanishing points they're not connected yet. The top vertex will now connect to the third vanishing point, the bottom left one with the second vanishing point, and the bottom right one with the first vanishing point. Perfect, we have our first cube in 3-point perspective. So make sure to remember this Y shape. It is the shape that you will use in the future when you're gonna create cubes without the need for a grid and all the lines anymore. Let's create another cube, but before that, let me remind you again. Do not draw a cube or shape outside of the triangle between the three vanishing points. I mean this on the side of the horizon line where the third vanishing point is. As you can see here, I try creating one and the result is rather confusing, so stay away from it, especially in the beginning. Alright, let's create another cube above the horizon line at the right side. Alright, we're going to start with the vertex only and connect it to the three vanishing points. Then define the dimensions of the cube by placing three new vertices. Now, connect them to the other vanishing points. The intersection of the converging lines will dictate where our next vertices will be located. And that's our second cube. Seen from below, since it's sitting above the horizon line. And it also looks a little bit distorted, since it's very close to one of the vanishing points. Let's see what happens when we place a cube on top of the horizon line, and very near to the first vanishing point. Just like for the other perspective, we're going to only see two sides of the cube. But what's crazy is the amount of distortion we're able to see, since we're very close to one of the vanishing points. Just like I said before, do not try to go outside of the triangle on the bottom of the horizon line for the case like this. And do not go above the straight walls above the horizon line. Outside of this zone, it will be trouble. Of course, if our third vanishing point would sit above the horizon line, these zones will flip. And if you're creating an artwork and not just studying like we're doing here, it will be better to place the third vanishing point outside of the canvas. You can also do that for the first two. It just depends on the intensity of the view you're trying to emulate. And remember the tip for each of the perspectives. For 1-point perspective, the front and back planes will be straight. Start with the front plane. For 2-point perspective, the vertical edges will be straight. Start with the front edge. And for 3-point perspective, no plane or edge will be straight, so start with the vertex. That's it. I hope you got value out of this video, and if you did, make sure to give it a like and subscribe for more videos. This was more of a technical video, but it's something necessary for your art journey. Practice this well. If you have any related questions, don't be shy, leave a comment. I'll be doing one more video on boxes and how to draw objects and characters inside, so stay tuned for that. And alright, I'll catch you in the next session.